it going there, everybody? This is Samuel Fisher with Green Dispensary Marketing, back again with another guest. Really excited to talk with him. This is Michael Diaz-Rivera. He was a public school teacher at Denver Public Schools before becoming a state rep for the Minorities for Medical Marijuana in Colorado. Today, he's the owner of Better Days Delivery, which is a Denver and Aurora licensed social equity cannabis delivery and transportation service. They focus on health-conscious, environmentally friendly services for the community. His team has overcome big impacts, specifically struggles in the war on drugs. I'm really excited to talk with Michael. He's got a great story. How are you doing today, Michael?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. Life is good. No complaints on my side. I'm excited to chat with you, so thank you for the time.
Yeah, likewise for being here. I definitely appreciate your time. I'm really excited to hear more about you. And so let's jump right into this. And so I'd really first off, would like to hear more about your personal journey and kind of motivation getting into the industry. And so you were actually, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you were arrested for cannabis possession and actually turned that kind of tragedy into triumph to becoming one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the Denver area. How did that experience shape your motivation to enter into the cannabis industry?
Yeah, and in hindsight, well, actually, no, I'd say in the moment, I had no idea that I'd be headed into the industry. I was just 19 years old and got pulled over with weed, got charged with felony possession. And at the time, I didn't even understand how to run a business, or even though I was running a business, it wasn't legitimate. And so I had no mindset to get into the industry. But then as things started to change and social equity came into the Colorado space, it just made sense for me, because I'm a lover of cannabis and I had already been doing this as a teenager, to take that risk and give it a try. And so that's how I got here. I like to say the plant chose me in certain ways.
Yeah, well, I think it kind of put you in a pretty good situation where you're in position to kind of make some change in the industry, and you've already made some change in the industry. I'm really curious if that experience, or how that experience kind of influenced your perspective on the need for reform in the cannabis industry.
Oh, definitely, man. So in college, I joined this group. Actually, in college, there were these people just setting up a table, asking people to come to their organization. I walked up to the table, and the organization was Students for Sensible Drug Policy. So it was a group of people that were all about fighting against the war on drugs and the oppression that came from it, and trying to impact our community in better ways. And so I joined this group, and that's where I really learned about the war on drugs and how me having a felony was less than accidental. So and that just lit a fire on me, and I realized that some things needed to change for just to help the most marginalized that got swept into the war on drugs to have better opportunities. People like myself, I'm extremely grateful for the opportunities that I've gotten, and I'm disappointed that there are still people falling into those traps. And I know what it feels like to have a felony for weed possession and being turned away from jobs, being turned away from housing, not able to participate in certain programs. And I just don't feel it's right. So that's a big part of why I think we need drug reform. For sure.
Yeah, and I think you might be preaching to the choir here. The war on drugs has negatively impacted minority groups in the United States, underrepresented groups, and specifically African Americans. And so I really applaud you for kind of taking the front line on that, but about not being afraid to put a face to it and say, hey, we need to fix this. And so go to my next question here. If you could go back and change anything in the situation from your arrest to your felony, would you? And do you think it's impacted your goal and ambitions with Better Days Delivery?
That's interesting. That's a good question. And I'm kind of both sides of would I change it. I want to say no, because my life has kind of come full circle since then. If I didn't get that felony, chances of me being in the cannabis industry through social equity probably wouldn't be as high. And but also the struggle that my life has had to overcome and that my family has had to endure because of that felony makes me want to erase that. So if I could take anything back, I would go back, talk to 19-year-old me, tell me to not take that plea bargain and to actually fight it and maybe get a deferred sentence. It was my first charge as an adult, and just having a felony for a controlled substance automatically put me in a box that made it tough, that made it tough lifer. I made life tougher. I don't want to say life's ever been particularly easy for me, but that felony on top of my other baggage just didn't make things easy. So I probably would have fought that charge so that I didn't have to have that felony, didn't have to pay the
Yeah.
thousands in restitution. And maybe actually I would have talked to myself before I even got pulled over that night to say, hey, that call you're going to have to make to your mom to get out of jail is going to be a big heartbreaker. So maybe move differently. So yeah, it's too, I like to say life can be contradictory at times. And I'm grateful that the felony has ironically put me in a better position for this business, but also the pain and heartache that my family has had to endure isn't okay. So yeah.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. I was going to follow up and say, yeah, it's kind of a badge of honor to have a felony for cannabis possession, especially given what's going on right now with legalization. But when you
Right.
reflect back on the struggle and the tears and the bad phone calls, as you're saying, I would imagine it's just as a whole a bad experience. I'm really curious. What role did your experiences with this incarceration play in your advocacy work?
Oh man, a lot. Just so that just going to jail is not a good place to be. Every time that I've been in jail, it's like I'm not supposed to be here, and really no one should have to endure or go through what's going on in these places. So, and I am grateful that I've never had to spend more than a couple of months. I've got family members that have been in jail and prison for years, and I can't imagine the social, emotional toll, let alone everything else that they've had to, like, what that's done to them. But so I say all that to say being incarcerated and at night and that charge, so I got a charge for felony possession. I was 19. My calendar, I was not the best with putting things on my calendar, so I would miss court and then I'd go back to jail because I missed court. And it was like this cycle that I kept finding myself caught into, of bonding out, going back in, and then catching other charges, getting brutalized by the police. And so it was just a lot of things that made me realize just all that people have to, like, all that comes with the prison industrial complex, war on drugs, etc. So I try to alleviate that pain for others so that they don't find themselves in similar positions.
Yeah,
Sorry if that was a long-winded
no, that
answer,
was
but yeah.
perfect. Well, let's actually follow up on that. So, for similar individuals who kind of faced a similar circumstance in their life, whether it be an arrest or maybe just a slap on the wrist, a little bit less, and they're still kind of interested in getting into cannabis, despite the stigma in their past, what kind of advice would you give to those people?
Yeah, actually, I would say never give up. And actually, I would say, like you said earlier, having a felony for cannabis possession in 2024 can be a badge of honor because we were the legacy. Those that were dealing with cannabis before it was legal, although that was against the law, we were establishing the industry for what it is today. We were those that were medical providers before people were even recognizing this plant for its medical properties. We were those that were finding a way to help our community through this plant. And so I like to tell legacy operators that we are coming in with an insight that many in the industry just don't even have until we've already got the time and effort put in that others haven't been able to. So I like to say use your strengths as a legacy operator to pursue your passion, especially now that we have social equity in many states, which many states look at social equity as a scam, but it can be an opportunity. So I like to say use your mistakes and take that lemon and turn it into lemonade.
Yeah, good points. I was actually to kind of follow up on that. I was recently talking with Devin Alexander. He had a similar
Yeah.
story. He was arrested for possession. He also has a delivery service over on the East Coast. Um, and
Man, Devin's one of my heroes for real.
he actually he was one of the first to get kind of permission through one of these social equity programs, and so yeah, he would also be kind of right there with you. So yeah, it's a good thing. But anyways, kind of getting us back on track here. I'd like to talk more about your business, your operations, and your kind of your community impact. And kind of to start off, I was really just curious because I was looking up your business, and I'm actually a huge Tupac Shakur fan. I don't know if you are as well, but he had an album, posthumous album called Better Days. And so I'm wondering
Oh,
if there's any sort of connection here.
exactly. That's exactly the connection. And actually, can I backtrack a little bit?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to give Devin his flowers because when I decided to pursue delivery and I was looking throughout the nation of who was trying to figure this out, there weren't many people doing it at the time, but Devin was one of the first people that popped up. And every time that I've reached out to him, with no matter how ridiculous my questions are as I was trying to figure things out, he's always given me time and really helped me to figure out what I was doing. So Devin, he's a champ. I love the work that he does, and he definitely inspired me. And they just actually changed the laws in
Yeah,
Massachusetts due to his work and others. So it inspires me for sure.
yeah, big
And
badass,
then,
David Alexander.
yep, yeah, Devin Alexander and Roll Up Life, they're doing great things for sure. And then so you hit the nail on the head actually. I'm a big Tupac fan as well. I was raised on Tupac's music. Some of my hardest times listening to Tupac has motivated and coached me to help get through. And Better Days, actually, it was that song that came on, but it was actually a couple different songs. Diane Reeves has a Better Days song. One Republic has a Better Days song. Even Bruce Springsteen has a Better Days song. Even J Balvin, they have a song called Better Days. There are a couple different artists and I listen to music all the time. And so I just kept hearing this theme of better days coming up in the music that I was listening to. And then I was, yeah, getting dressed one day and Tupac Better Days came on. And I was like, yo, this is just everything aligns. So it was really, it all just told me that that was meant to be the name of the business. Everything that he was talking about in that song is what I tried to feed into this business.
Yeah, really great branding idea, honestly. Maybe there's like some partnership ideas in the future that you could explore with Death Row Cannabis. You know, who knows? Who
Oh,
knows?
right?
Never know.
That's a great
But
idea.
continuing on, while you were going through the process of building Better Days Delivery, what were some of the big challenges that you encountered?
The biggest challenges I think would say my knowledge gap, because I came from the space of being a teacher. I didn't really know much about running a business in terms of understanding financials and all of that, hiring employees, setting up SOPs, all the whole spiel of setting up a business. I was just ignorant to the game. I just thought, hey, I delivered weed before, I could do it. But I had no idea of like the actual work that I was going to have to put in. So just changing, doing research and understanding all that I would need to do to run this business was one of my challenges. And then outside of that, it was just money.
Yeah,
I I had a little bit of money from being a teacher, but really not enough to start a business. So luckily I've got some grant money that's helped me to stay alive. But yeah, it's the money was a major issue and just the understanding how to set up a business were probably my biggest challenges.
well, it sounds like you're getting a good handle on it. You're talking about setting up SOPs, processes, that sort of stuff. And a lot of the big work, being the boss man, as you know, is just kind of being able to delegate and trust your employees. And moving on to your marketing strategies, I'm really kind of curious what you've been doing, what's been effective for you, and how you've been driving your sales.
Yeah, and so that marketing has actually been tough for a couple reasons. But Colorado regulations, when it comes to cannabis, you can't do a lot of the marketing that traditional are able to do. There are a lot of regulations that just hurt our ability to market and fully get the word out. And not only that, delivery is a new business model in Colorado. Most customers are used to going into stores rather than ordering for delivery. So, marketing is a need just to educate consumers and patients about how another way for them to get their product. So, I have really just been, and then another issue is in Colorado, we're not able to own the product, the dispensaries own the product. So
Yeah.
any marketing that I'm going to do has to align with my dispensary partners. So I've got to get their permission as well and try to get them to market the service in the hopes that it'll help both of us to grow. And so I say all of that to say my best marketing strategy has been guerrilla marketing, really working with community, going to community events, and letting them know that delivery is available. And also something that we've recently been working on are community connection cards. So we're establishing relationships with businesses and organizations in some of our top zip codes that we deliver to. And in those zip codes, we've created cards that list some of those community champions so that customers are, when they order delivery, they're learning about other folks and businesses that they can support in that community as well. And the hope is that the marketing will be mutual as I'm helping these companies to get their word about their business, that they will help us as well. And thus far, people have been appreciating that local effort. Outside of that, I'm currently working on my first quarter plans, and we are getting ready to put some advertisements in magazines, newspapers, and on radio as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that's really exciting. I'd be curious to kind of, if you could follow up in 3 months, say, hey, these are working. Because I would also like to
Right.
hear how that's working. Um, Also, kind of moving on, a lot of people that I work with, dispensary owners, for example, traditionally in the past, when you go back like 5, 10 years, a lot of them would be posting ads on weed maps or Leafly. And so I'm kind of curious if you have any experience with that. Recently, from what I can tell, it's kind of turned negative. The opinions of people are using ads on that platform. I'm curious what your thoughts and if you have any experience with weed maps, Leafly ads.
Yes, actually, I have seen the conversations turn negative towards those platforms. Whereas, just to be transparent, people are telling me that they are not getting the ROI that they expected from these platforms. Unfortunately, if I am going to put ads on those platforms, I have to go through my dispensary partners. And because of that negative stint, actually, some of my partners have advertised on both Leafly and Weed Maps. And because they didn't get the ROI that they expected, they've told me that it isn't worth our effort.
Yeah, no, and if you're not getting an ROI either, and if you're hearing a lot of people saying you're not going to get an ROI,
Yeah.
there's really no sense in investing in the
And
platform.
wasting the money. Yeah.
Continue on, a couple of strategies or some strategies I've seen work would be like optimizing your Google My Business profile, having a nice website, like an e-commerce website, and SEO. And I'm curious what your thoughts on those strategies. What would be your thoughts on those strategies?
Yeah, that's actually because of because of the input that I've gotten from some of my dispensary partners, and because I feel like a lot of my marketing unfortunately just falls on me to figure out. SEO has been one of my best ways to win.
Awesome.
So we release a blog monthly that goes to all of our subscribers, and we post on social media as well. And those blogs have actually helped us. Right now, if you Google weed delivery in Colorado, we are probably the first or second delivery business to show up. So it has been generating traffic, and Google is the biggest platform for us getting customers. When I look at my website and see where customers are coming from, Google is the best place. So that has been working. We've been getting even something that has also helped us to pop up in the Google algorithm. Sorry if I'm messing up my words.
No, you're good. I did
Is
too.
so our customer reviews. We've been getting customers to give us review to help us to pop up as well. And so Google has been one of the best platforms for getting new customers.
Good for you. And it sounds like you're already also taking it one step further, doing retargeting email campaigns and retargeting with your customer list. So big applause for that. That's you're on the right track, and it sounds like you're already kicking ass. So big applause there. Moving on, I kind of wanted to touch upon the topic of advocacy and policy reform a little bit more. And so you've been an advocate for changes in cannabis delivery regulations in Colorado. What specific changes do you think are needed right now?
Well, there are a couple changes. If we just stick with the current model that we have, which is basically the pizza model, is what we call it. So we don't own the product. The dispensaries packages for us. We're just the pizza guy that we pick it up and we take it to the customer, basically, is the
Yeah.
general way. And if we're going to stick with that model, there are a couple things that we could change that would benefit both us and our dispensary partners. I would like us to be able to deliver to hotels because a lot of times, actually, probably a quarter of our orders a day are from customers that are in hotels, but state regulations won't allow us to deliver to them.
Huh.
And not only that, a lot of we're also not able to do business to business transportation and business to customer transportation at the same time. And that's something that I think we should be able to do. I should be able to transport to a business and then in the same route be able to go to a customer's home and deliver to them as well. And unfortunately, we're not able to do that. We're also not able to put our dispensary partners' prices on our website. And that just makes it more time consuming for the consumer as they have to go to my website, then they have to go to the dispensary's menu to really understand the prices when we can just minimize that step and make it one less click for the customer. Because we have noticed by those multiple clicks, we sometimes lose customers, and that just doesn't make it the most reasonable for keeping those customers' attention.
They're really
But
good.
really,
Okay.
something that I'm hoping to change this year is to introduce a new business model in Colorado, which would allow for cannabis wholesale delivery, where delivery businesses would be able to own their own product like is available in other states, making our profit margins faster or our profit margins higher. And then for logistics, it would allow for us to deliver from a central location, making our delivery faster.
Yeah, that's interesting. It sounds like Colorado's actually behind states like Massachusetts in that regard. So
Yep.
hopefully we can really just push the button because we're one of we're one of the I'm actually from Colorado too. We're one of the pioneers. You know, we were one of the first ones to get cannabis legalized, if not the first. So we can compete with Washington, right? But
Exactly.
kind of moving on. You unfortunately you were one of the people who was really negatively impacted by the war on drugs, and so I'm really kind of curious what you think would be the biggest pieces of policy that we can implement in the next year, 5 years, whatever, to stop this negative impact, specifically with minority groups. What do you think?
For me, it's declassification. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be reclassified,
Yeah,
and that's okay. That'll make it a little bit easier, but still, people are going to go to jail. And as we've seen, even in Colorado with legalization, Black and brown communities are still being arrested at a higher percentage than the white community. And so, if we are able to declassify cannabis, that would lower the chance of people going to jail for this plant. And for me, that's the best thing that we could do for our communities. I would also like to see, actually, yeah, that would probably be the best thing that I would say. Legalize the plant and declassify it.
yeah, great points. And kind of follow up. What role do you think Better Days Delivery is going to have in kind of helping push the industry forward in Colorado?
We are going to use our voice as much as possible. I try to make sure that I am a stakeholder showing up at any conversations, whether it's locally, statewide, or even with social equity operators. I'm trying to make sure that I am showing up and making sure that Better Days Delivery is represented as I have a unique story. And sometimes the most marginalized are easily ignored if we're not in the space. As I like to say, if you're not at the table, chances are you're probably at the menu.
Yeah. Yeah, just a few more questions for you, Michael. This has been a really good discussion, so thank you for your time. Before they're kind of fun questions to kind of summarize, and finish up the podcast. But really, I was hoping to kind of give you some space to kind of pitch Better Days Delivery, what makes you stand out, and why people should work with you.
Yeah. I'd say in my opinion, but my customer reviews and my dispensary partners would probably say the same. We are the leading cannabis delivery service in Colorado. And I say that because we serve a wider market than any of my competitors. We are currently delivering in Denver, Aurora, Montbello, Greenwood Village, and we're planning to expand outside of that. But also, we serve both medical and recreational customers. But we cater to the medical population because that's who actually needs delivery the most, those customers that might be sick and shut in. So as we cater to those customers, we're able to serve everybody better than our competitors have been able to be. So if you are in Colorado, in the Denver metropolitan area, and you would like some cannabis delivered to your door, check out Better Days Delivery.
Absolutely, 100% second that. And just to kind of follow up, or excuse me, finish up our podcast here, I have a few kind of just fun questions for you. If you're not comfortable answering, it's completely fine, whatever. But to start this off, can you share the first time you tried cannabis? What was it like?
Yeah, actually. And as I was thinking about this interview, I was going to say that I probably never would have sold weed if I didn't smoke weed. But I started smoking weed at the age of 12, and I was just a little broke kid. Me and all my friends were broke. We didn't have any money to buy weed. So we had to sell it in order to be able to fund our habit. So that's, and I've been a connoisseur of the plant since the age of 12. I know some people may look at that negatively, but it's the truth.
It's funny.
I have taken breaks. Like when I was a teacher, I wasn't smoking, but I love this plant. It really helps me to just keep my cool and keep a calm perspective on life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if I really answered your question, but yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, no, so let's take 5 steps back because you're right. So that when you were 12 years old, tell me about the first experience that you had, if you can remember.
Yeah, there you go. Actually, that was, yes. So my first experience, I didn't even know how to smoke weed. And it was just because, all the homies are smoking. Everybody seems to be high. So I just acted like I was supposed to be high. Putting my eyes low, acting all silly. But I'm like, I don't feel it. And it wasn't, I don't think I was even smoking right. Probably my first couple times of smoking, it was purely social, just to try to fit in.
Yeah.
And until I really started to notice that I was feeling the effects and I liked it.
Yeah, interesting. My experience is kind of the same. I didn't really feel it the first time. But these days, what's your favorite strain or product? Are you a concentrate guy? Do you make your own oils? I make my own oils, for example. Or do you have like a type of flower that you like? Are you into the THC drinks? What do you say?
I'm flower mostly. For some reason, and it's maybe because I'm usually smoking at the same time as I take an edible, that I don't really feel edibles as much, but I like to take the plant however I can get it. I do like oils, but oftentimes I'm on a budget, and so the concentrates tend to be a little more pricey than flower for me. So that's why I'm usually gonna go flower over concentrate. But a good rosin is I love a good I love the plant. So sorry, I'm all over the place. I do it all. But yeah.
No, great. That's good enough. Yeah. A lot of people say the same thing. I just love weed, man. Looking forward to the next 5-10 years for the cannabis industry, looking in your crystal ball, knowing what Michael Diaz-Rivera knows. What do you think? Where do you think the cannabis industry is going to be?
I see, there are presidential candidates that are talking about legalizing the plant, but that ain't the first time we've heard that. So maybe it'll be legal one day in the next 5 years, maybe not. Who knows? But I'm hoping that it'll continue to dismantle the negative stigma on cannabis. That would actually be great. If we can just realize the medical properties of this plant and how this helps people, that is the best thing that we can do for our communities. Not only that, but I'd even like to see Black and brown communities that were most harmed by the war on drugs get their piece of the pie now that this plant is legalized. I'd like to see our communities getting a share of that revenue so that we are growing and being able to feed that back into our communities and helping everybody to grow.
Yeah, especially for people who've just been negatively impacted or still in jail, for example. They're the ones who need the most help and deserve the most out of this future
Yeah,
industry. I think
exactly.
completely
If
100%.
we could get everybody that is incarcerated for cannabis out of jail in the next 5 years, that would be perfect. That would be my dream of all dreams.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again, Michael, for being on the show. This has been really interesting, really informative for me. Learned a lot. And once again, this is Better Days Delivery. I'll make sure to leave a link to both his LinkedIn and also his website in the description below. Do you have anything else you'd like to say? Do you want to have the floor to end this out?
Yeah, I'd say check out betterdaysdelivery.com. Thank you to everyone in my community that has supported me thus far. And if anyone has a chance, support social equity businesses. We are some of those that have been left off the agenda, and now it's time to bring us in, and by supporting us, we can help everyone.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Michael. Definitely wish you the best. I'll be checking in with you in the future. But thanks for connecting with me. Thanks for talking with me. And I wish you all the best.
Man, thank you, Samuel. This is great.
Yeah. Have a great day.